Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Finance Committee meeting for this evening. Members of my committee is myself, the chair. Members Dean Holland is absent. Member Amy May, and my alternate is Cheryl Ramos. We have a few items on the agenda already, but there's been some other items that have been brought up to my attention, and we'll go over all those. The first item was to discuss the police chief's increase in department budgets for the vehicles. The auditor told me that that funding was available in her current budget, and that was handled. What wasn't handled was a additional $65,000 for the camera system, and what I'm going to have Mr. Popham explain that, and Chief is here, and so is
Captain
Officer
Rossi.
is here. So, Greg, could you give us a little information about the cameras?
Sure. First off, with the new chief in town and kind of going through things, we're kind of discovering that there's quite a few different things that are not quite what they should be. And one of the main things, and when we're dealing with the public and, it's only gonna take one lawsuit and, a small amount of money is gonna be a drop in the bucket compared to the lawsuit. What we basically found out is that the car cameras in 9 of the police department vehicles, out of the 9, maybe 1 or 2 is maybe working. So there's a big risk of something taking place out there and not having the ability to have that recorded. And kind of with that being said, when we found this out, Captain Rossi did some research and probably can give us the information that we would like on the car camera systems. And with the new system that he looked into, it also takes care of us in the future as far as body cameras go. They're compatible and they kind of work together. So this is basically kind of a two-prong approach. But the most important thing at this point is to try to get the car cams back up and running. So I'll turn it over to Paul or the chief, whoever would like to discuss it.
Either way, Captain Rossi.
Where did you go to microphone?
Unfortunately, you have to go to microphone because that's what record is. It doesn't amplify, it just records. While he's going there, I want to welcome you, Chief. Glad to have you. Going to appreciate what you've already given to the city and my relationship with you with the water department. So thank you again and good luck. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Popham, Mr. Rickley. A year and a half, 2 years ago, we're suffering our dash cams failing one by one. The current system we purchased a number of years ago, they are currently at the end of their life. We purchased them from a company called WatchGuard at the time. They were the state-of-the-art system that was out there. WatchGuard has currently been bought out by Motorola. Customer service then went out the window and got an email a year and a half ago, said everything went up 12% at that time, which means today probably went up 20% for the same system that we currently have. I found a really good company that's not at the top of the price point like WatchGuard or Motorola would charge us, but they're not the bottom basement barrel either. $65,000 covers the install and all the equipment necessary. This is a wireless system, so we wouldn't be draining the city resources for server space like we have been, which has been a bane of my existence because I'm constantly struggling to upkeep our video system. With that, this system also, as Mr. Popham introduced, is also body camera accessible. The same system offers body cameras to operate code siding with the dash camera. So when we see a violation, traffic, and that turns into criminal, as soon as we step out of the car, our body cameras would kick on. We just, me and the chief, last week, are in the process of certifying a body camera policy with the state, which then opens the door for us, and we're waiting for it to be announced. The state has a body camera grant that we were looking at also applying. The dash cameras is the first step, so it's the founding block that we require to be able to build upon for our video evidence. As Mr. Popham, as he explained, that this is a sum of money, but in the grand scheme of things, all it takes is one incident for somebody to take us to federal court, and the zeros and the decimal point just kind of moves over when we don't have that. Being a captain with the police department, I am constantly being asked for public record requests, video requests, and out of all of our cars, 1, 2, 3 cars at the top would be fully functional. They're all in varying degrees of disrepair, and it would cost money to fix all of those. It's kind of like throwing good money after bad. So this is our,
What's the time frame if you would get approval to have those installed, if you had approval in the next council meeting?
installed, if we were to have a PO today, we would have them probably 8 to 10 weeks shipped and installed, hopefully within that time period.
Okay. Would they come here and install?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, the big question then is for the auditor, I know you didn't have much time to look at this. Is this something that you and the safety director and the chief can get together and maybe?
Probably, but I do want to point out, and maybe council doesn't realize this, the police department has a fund called OMVI Enforcement.
Okay.
It's our number 213. That has just about $6,200 in it. They also have, and I'm assuming this kind of thing would fall under the definition of the Police Law Enforcement Fund, which is Fund 269. There's 5,142 in there. And then there's also the Technology Fund. Now, I know that council set that up with probably plans for something for themselves, but that is available.
How much is in the technology?
32,000.
32,000? And that fund number, technology fund?
That is 230. 32,937, actually. And then, without looking at the police
Just-
budget again, I couldn't
Okay.
tell you anything else
Okay,
right now.
all right. So with that information, I still think it's best you three sit down and then get back with me, Ken. Like I said, I can call another meeting for next council to get that information on the agenda if we can go through committee and get that approved through committee. Okay? All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the cameras, or we're good?
Me
I will get your questions. I just want to make sure they don't want to present anything.
Is there any
Okay.
questions?
Don't we, yeah, okay. Cheryl, you had your hand up.
Well, I had two things. I have you said questions for Captain. So you're saying at the top, there are 4 cars fully functional?
May not even be fully 4.
So 1 or 2, do you
So
think?
each car has 3 cameras and a microphone. Most cars, the wireless microphone isn't recording audio at this point. Some cars, the camera system isn't even turning on. I've taken pieces and parts off of, like the school resource officer car. I've taken pieces and parts to try to bolster our frontline cars. I'm to a point where shy of pulling the full unit out and shipping it back to Motorola. That costs money to remove it, costs money to ship it, costs money to diagnose it, and it will cost money to fix it. At this point, they're so far to their end of life, the only option we're left with is replacing. The benefit to this system is it's completely wireless. the minute the officer pushed stop on the video, it wirelessly uploads to the storage site, which is not our server. And that's important because we've spent so much money in the past maintaining that server because there's just so much data. And it's putting a drain on the city's IT. The other nice thing about this is it also has black box recording. So if an officer is involved in an incident or a crash and the video doesn't happen, or there's an allegation within a set period of time, I want to say it's 24 or 36 hours, we as the command of the New Philadelphia Police Department can look back. It's kind of like a black box on an airplane. The other added benefit, other than being able to expand upon it and add body cameras, video request would be streamlined instead of having to burn it to DVD as we do now, which takes an ungodly amount of time. We're able to find the video and send a hyperlink to the video requester. So it'll be saving us money in records request as well as time and resource.
And one more question, and then I think I know where there's some money. So is this, you said it's wireless, but it's secure?
Yes, there's an actual box that's mounted in the car that contains all the system. It just empties itself wirelessly to the server.
So I mean, it can't be hacked.
It's no, anything can be hacked,
It's,
Cheryl, but it's
well, I
encrypted.
know, but you wanna make it as hard as
Right,
possible.
this is industry standard. This company called GTAC, they have been around for years. There are local police departments that are using this system currently. I was able to do a live demo at their police department with their equipment, the same equipment that we were quoted. It's pretty much identical to what we're used to using, just in a better package.
Thank you.
Yes,
Captain, did you say that 9 total cruisers will be getting this
Correct.
equipment?
yes, Dan?
A couple, what's the life expectancy of, on the new system? I mean,
This would include a 5-year warranty,
okay,
and that's,
that's pretty good
the
with
factory
technology.
rep was telling me, a 24-hour turnaround. So if we have something go bad, call them up, we ship it within 24 hours, we get a fixed or replaced.
And, I'm sorry, will they, like, when we get a new cruisers, they'll come and install it in the new ones, or?
Our outfitter will,
Okay.
or the outfitter we
Okay.
use that outfits our car.
They'll
is
be doing all that, just like the rest of
They're
them?
a factory installed company.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Rick?
Just one quick question, Captain. The package includes your cloud-based storage, or is that an
Correct.
additional fee?
That includes our clouds.
Okay, so the cloud storage is
Correct.
included in that package cost? Okay, great.
Okay. Any other questions by council members? Yes, ma'am?
You perked my interest in body cams. Do we have any body cams right now?
We do not currently have body cameras, and the rough estimate that I obtained for purposes of the grant that we're looking at to add body cameras to the system is approximately $40,000 for 30 body cameras. Reason why we would need to go with 30 is speaking with the factory rep, speaking with our installer, sharing body cameras is kind of like sharing portable radios. Life battery lasts 8 to 10 hours. Once you start jumping shifts and handing off camera, and then next thing you know, the officer following me is gonna have a dead body camera. So the rough estimate was about $40,000 to outfit our department.
But you're thinking there's grant money available?
There is.
Last
Possible.
year, the end of last year about this time, the state had a grant that Governor DeWine is encouraging through grants and his initiatives that every police department have access to body cameras. I know of police departments that their whole department got outfitted. We laid the foundation Friday by adopting a policy of body cameras for when we get body cameras. We have this policy that's getting certified through the Ohio Collaborative. hopefully in the next month or so, they open this grant up for year 2023. We're set up to apply for it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay.
Just one more
Yes,
question.
Mr. Pike?
Captain, how many hours do you think you spend on the old antiquated system of what it sounds like that you currently go through with hyperlinks and burning the DVDs, and it sounds miserable?
Hours, I couldn't begin to estimate, because a lot of the individual officers are taken off the road to answer their personal, official, individual camera video recordings. Me personally, I spent a lot just maintaining the system, because the current software only allows for X number of videos to stay on the system without the system crashing. And I've learned that every month I have to sit down and purge old videos to keep the system running.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
think that in itself
Yeah.
kind of gives
And
us
I-
what we need to do.
Okay. I want to thank both of you for taking the initiative to start grant writing. I think that's very important. It's good to have that news, so thank you very much. Okay, the next item, we'll do the quick one, which I hope is proposed ordinance 13/2023. It's to increase the sidewalk improvement fund 285-6500-5-5200. The auditor is requesting, or was it Mr. McAbeer? Was this you, Mr. McAbeer?
Sorry?
Was this the increase on the sidewalk fund? Okay.
It
2640.
came from John Lee.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I was hoping, okay, $2,640. The auditor has expressed to me that it's not something that has to be passed on emergency, so we could hold for a couple readings if needed, correct?
Yes, and that needs to be done because some of the people who are who are in that program are paying more per square yard or foot or cubic yard or whatever it is than what our parameters are, correct? That's where the extra comes from. It doesn't come from our money.
So you need
It
the
comes
money
from the
to run it
customer.
through, but
Yeah.
it'll come right back then.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I apologize for
That's
that,
okay.
Kelly. We still, remember we had 40,000,
Right,
so what that is we're still of our money, we gotta show it all.
right,
So our part is still 20,000,
right.
but since the price had went to, so say it went to 42,640 is what
Right,
it
I
did.
understand.
We still only have the 20 out.
Right, you need to have that money in that line item
Correct.
to pay, even though we're not spending, it's the customer's money. or
Correct.
the citizens' money.
We gotta
It just
show
has to run through our.
In and
book.
out.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
and that's fine.
I'm sorry.
Yep, okay. So any council members have a question? Okay.
Yeah, again, it's still the 20,000 that we
Yeah,
allowed.
Yeah, instead of being $4 a square foot, maybe it's $4.75 a square foot, and
Exactly.
it's jumped up.
Exactly.
I understand.
Over the
Yeah,
16 projects,
Correct.
yeah.
Does any of the council members have a question? Administration? Entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to add ordinance 13/2023 to the next agenda and pass on through reading.
I'll second that.
Okay. We'll take a vote. Mrs. May,
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes also. So I will have this added to the next agenda. The last time that I know of that was presented is proposed ordinance 14/2023. It's the ordinance of the city of New Philadelphia to authorize the auditor to create a new fund called the Fire Department Escrow Fund, number 806, for the purpose of depositing funds from insurance companies collected pursuant to the New Philadelphia ordinance of 9/2022 and Ohio Vice Code 3929.86. So I basically Beth needs a place to put the money, and this would be where the money would come, and I think the law director sent samples of the check and the money that needs to be deposited. Again, would it be better if we get this through tonight, so you have that account?
Yeah,
Since you have a check?
they're holding on, the fire department's holding on to that check.
Well, I'd rather get the check deposited in our account than sitting there on the desk. So, if the other council members thinks but we'll suspend the rules tonight and pass out on first reading, so that line item will be there for the auditor's use. Does any of the members have any questions? Yes,
I
Sharon?
have a question. When we passed this ordinance, we didn't make
You
a
didn't
fund?
establish a fund, no.
Yes, it was included in the packet that the
No, I mean,
Yeah.
when we passed the,
9/20/2022 is in your packet.
no,
Of-
I
of the
know,
stuff,
when we
yeah.
passed, it, my question was, when we passed that legislation, we didn't set up a fund to accompany that at the time when we probably knew that we should have had one.
Well, they did, it was oversight. Any other questions by council? Administration? I'll make a motion to add ordinance 14/2023 to tonight's agenda and ask to suspend the rules and pass on first reading.
Second.
Take a vote. Mrs. May,
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos,
Yes,
and I'll vote yes also. Is there any other matters to come forth before the committee?
Kelly.
Yes, Chair.
So just to clarify two things. So the other 40-some thousand for the other cruisers that weren't fully equipped, you
That
said
she's already
taken care of that?
The
Okay,
auditor came to me and told me that that's all been handled
okay.
when her and the chief sat down.
And the other thing, I had a suggestion where the money could be found, to help with the rest of that, is there is in, line item, 5227 in master capital, there's $85,000 in there for the towpath trail. And we could maybe take some of that to use for a necessity, like the police cruisers.
Well, I don't know exactly how much we're spending. I think we got some of that grant last year. But as that grant money comes in, then we need to pay the bills for that.
Right, we don't know if that's gonna pass or anything. There's significant pushback from the residents.
Well, I guess I should say, I don't know if it was for a prior project or if it was for an anticipated new
I don't know.
project. The mayor and the service director would remember that. I just was asked to put that in there, so.
I can tell you, if there's money in there now, it has nothing to do with what we've been talking about on the towpath trail, it has to do with prior commitments from towpath trail. You won't see anything on that for 2 to 3 to 5 years. So that money is not for anything what we've been talking about in the last year and a half, towpath
So
trail.
we could use it then.
No, wait, hang on. That's not what I said.
You said 3 to 5 years we would need it, right?
I had said that would be for old projects that have done that may need bills paid still. There's still towpath trail money come through for stuff we've done on the trail from South Broadway Bridge to the other end of, the Great Old property. So that money that is there now, again, has nothing to do with what we've been talking about towpath trail wise for the last 2 years.
Okay.
Okay.
But you could figure that. You could find
Yeah,
that.
I'd have to sit down with Ron or something and figure out where we are on that.
Okay, you take care of that, Beth, and figure it out, and then we'll let us know.
Sure.
Okay, what I like to send to the two directors, the service director and the safety director, it's getting August, and 3 of us council members will be leaving at the end of this year. Appropriations for budget, we need those sooner than later if we're gonna try to get anything established. So I'm just directing both of you for the finance committee, and the finance chair needs that as soon as possible. because I know
Personally.
there's gonna be some members missing for a while here, so it would help out to have that. Again, it's a budget that we can look at, and then I will get with the auditor to review that budget to see if the funding would be available. So, with that said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned at 7:25.
This meeting of New Philadelphia City Council will now come to order. Would you please rise and remain standing for the invocation and pledge of allegiance? Mr. Rippeth.
Yes, let us pray. Almighty Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and we give you praise for all your mighty works. Lord, we thank you for creating us, sustaining us day by day, and for blessing us so greatly. We thank you, Lord, for the community in which we live, for the families, the businesses, the churches, the individuals that make up our city and make it such a great place to be. Lord, we thank you for our safety service personnel. We just pray that you put a hedge of protection around each of them as they perform their duties for the citizens of New Philadelphia. Lord, I pray for this council meeting tonight that you would be with each member. You'd give us discernment and judgment, civility, to do the business that's required to keep this great city running in the way that it is. Lord, we thank you and we praise you for this city and pray that you'll be a part of what we do here tonight. In the name of your son, Jesus, amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Welcome all those that are watching by streaming tonight. Get started tonight, we'll do roll call.
Mr. Holland. Mr. Lonzer.
Here?
Mrs. May.
Present.
Mr. Pace.
Present.
Mrs. Ramos.
Here.
Mr. Ricklick.
Present.
Mr. Ribbit.
Present.
All right, already know Mr. Holland is excused, Mayor Day is excused, and Law Director Marvin Pate has been excused. All right, everybody had a chance to look at the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda for tonight? Mr. Ricklick.
Mr. President, I'd like to add ordinance 1423 to the agenda this evening.
Do I have a second? Mrs. May, thank you. Any discussion by administration? Council, roll call.
Mr. Ricklick.
Yes.
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mr. Lonzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Ribbit.
Yes.
All right, has been added to the agenda. Would they now entertain a motion to approve the agenda tonight with the one addition? Mr. Ricklick.
Make motion to approve the agenda as present.
Do I have a
Second.
Mr. Ripper, thank you. In discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Ricklick.
Yes.
Mr. Ribbit.
Yes.
Mr. Lonzer.
Yes.
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
All right, agenda has been approved. Minutes, everybody had a chance to review the minutes from our last council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I was absent last meeting, and under the front door that says that I talked about the first time.
Oh,
So I think it was just a copy and a paste from last time, but just wanted to be
that is
correct.
amazing that
Not-
you were able to do that when you weren't even
Yeah,
here.
not that it's that big of a deal, but I just wanted to make it of it.
All right, we'll make one correction.
Yes.
I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes with that one correction. Mr. May, thank you. And your second, Mr. Lonzer, thank you. In discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mr. Lonzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Ricklick.
Yes.
Mr. Ribbit.
I would
Right.
abstain.
Okay.
Minutes have been approved. Next, correspondence, Ms. Courtwright.
To Council Clerk from Treasurer Gerber dated August 1st, 2023, the Investment and Savings Report for July of 2023. To Council and Administration from Administrative Assistant to the Auditor Heather Denham. This is dated August 2nd, 2023. This is the July 2023 month-end reports. To Council and Administration from Income Tax Administrator for the City, Vicki Daniels, dated August 4th, 2023. This is the July 2023 Income Tax Report. To Council and Administration from Mayor Day, dated August 7th, 2023. This is an invitation to the grand opening of the new Petco store. To Council and Administration from Mayor Day, dated July 9th, 2023. This is a forwarded email titled Love Tusk Collection Unveiling Event, Phase 1. And to Council and Administration from Mayor Day, dated August 14th, 2023. The mayor's report. And that concludes correspondence for this evening, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Ms. Courtwright. Move into our administrative reports. First up is Mayor Day, and I know everybody's got a copy of his report. just some highlights. We're still in need of workers to fill out the general services position, so, if you know anybody looking for a job, contact the city. We're also still looking for donations for the canine dog. I think we're only $2,500, Greg, or?
The last time I asked, I think that's close to the amount that has been donated so far,
So we still need to get up to what, 8,000 or 10,000,
somewhere
right?
around in there, yes.
All right. So if anybody wants to donate, we'd appreciate those donations to the canine fund, to get that up. Also tomorrow, like you were saying, is Petco has got their grand opening tomorrow at noon, so any council members, feel free to stop out at Petco at noon for the ribbon cutting. I think that's basically the highlights, of the mayor's report, if everybody has it, and I know it'll be on the website after our meeting tonight. Move into Service Director, Mr. McAvoy, for your report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to clarify, the Petco's on Wednesday at noon. is
Oh, I'm
not-
sorry, you're right, it is Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm jumping ahead of day.
No, that's okay. Thank you again, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. I want to go over Franklin Square first, the storm sewer project down there. The half head wall has been installed. They've got around 275 feet up to the first junction box, their first manhole. They come out of there and about another 65 feet out of there. Last week on Thursday, you might saw Mill Avenue closed. They had come in and saw cut underneath the trussel, train trussel, so that they can get there and peel that up. They don't think they're gonna get to there for about another 2 weeks. So I will keep, hopefully, the next council meeting, hopefully that next day or in that week, we'll know about Mill Avenue being closed. But for right now, the concrete has been cut so that they get to that point, but they gotta get over there, remove the fence, come through that area, they're gonna stay right off the edge of the road, and then finally get out in there, get down Mill Avenue, up to Bank Lane, and then we'll open everything back up. But, they looked for that to be at least 2 weeks, so I'm hoping that I can fill everybody in on that at the next council meeting. Also, last week up on Glen Drive, they come in and cut, 2 butt joints, and all that is making the pavement, match from the Glen Drive where they're gonna start, and from Donahue where they're gonna start at. Today, they started removing all the concrete. Got about 75 foot down the road. Encountered a soft spot already, not unusual, and not probably gonna be the last one out of there, because like I say, it's about a 400-something foot project. 12 by 30 is this one, so it'll increase the cost of that to bring more base in, some more 304. So we got to that point, and then if everything goes right as they're coming down, they did move past that area today. They're probably in about the 150-foot area with no other encounters, but as they move down that way, they thought they was gonna have 2 days of peeling the concrete up, and they thought they was gonna pave Wednesday, finish Thursday, but stay tuned for that. I'll let everybody know how that turns around. But they only see 2 days of paving, but again, now that soft spot, I believe that's gonna push us back a day, and I believe they're gonna count other soft spots there. So I don't look for us to pave that probably until Monday and Tuesday, but I'll make sure that I make everybody aware of that. Speaking of paving, the bulk of the 2023 paving at Newton's Asphalt is done. Probably 80% of it's done. I made a short list of what really needed yet done. We have Streb Avenue yet that needs done. We got the unnamed alley beside Big B's Coffee, and then Forbes Avenue and 6th Street Northeast. We're trying to stay out of there because of the gas line projects going on right now. Talked with Gesner, Jeff Gesner last week from Newton's, and he believes he'll be in probably the first week of October, second week of October. So plenty of time to give updates as that comes along, and I'll make sure that I do that. And then with the rain over the weekend, as you know, our 4th and the Franklin Square that we're trying to improve. But everything was, they got to tie everything back in at the end of the night to make sure it's going into the old, back into the new. So everything was flowing through there. It's just enormous amount of water. So hopefully we'll see how this controls after phase 2 of the Franklin Square project. So But let's knock on wood that we get that first part done, and then we'll start on that second project. That's the end of my report.
Any question from Mr. McAbeer? All right, thank you. Move on to Safety Director, Mr. Popham.
Mr. President, I have no report. However, I would like to just kudos to the city employees on working during the recent monsoon that dropped quite a bit of water. And it's just amazing how water and cars kind of attract. And, but they were quite busy between lines being down, high water, and just all kinds of calls that you can't even imagine that took place during that. So kudos to all them for basically getting soaked and doing a very good job.
All right, thank you, yes, definitely. All right, we'll move on to the auditor, Mrs. Gundy.
Thank you, I have no report this evening.
All right, Treasurer, Mr. Gerber.
I have no additional report. I submitted the investment and savings report to the clerk of council. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mr. Fate, Law Director, is not here this evening. We'll move into our Board Commission reports. First up, Planning Commission, Mayor Day. I don't know when say you can tune the next meeting at Planning Commission is, Ron?
I do not, but, just to speak about a little bit, it was a work session, with Wendy Moeller. All the members were here, some of our members from, Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. Strickland was here, Councilman Holland was here, naturally Cheryl, was here. We just worked through, continue to work through that finished product. That's, the entire meeting, basically with Wendy Moore to get through the zoning changes.
Cheryl, when's the next meeting?
Usually the planning commission is the second Tuesday of the month at 1 o'clock.
The 12th, Mr. President.
All right, thank you.
Thank
All right, move on to Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. McAbeer.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for August 8th was canceled due to no variance requests to be heard. Our next meeting will be September 12th at 5 p.m. here in council chambers.
All right, thank you. Airport Commission, Mr. Alonso.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right. Move on to the Park Board, Mr. Pace.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening, but we will be meeting this coming Wednesday at noon at the Park Pavilion.
All right. Next up is the Health Board, Mr. Holland's not here this evening. Moving to Council Committee reports, Finance, Mr. Rickard.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met this evening at 7 p.m. We had a few items to go over. Proposed ordinance 13 and 14. 13 to deal with the sidewalk program, and 14, the new fund needed by the auditor for insurance payments to the fire department. We had a very good meeting discussion, and I was glad to see that. And the ordinance 13 was to be put on next agenda, and ordinance 14 was added to this evening and going to be tried to be passed as an emergency. Meeting was adjourned at 7:25.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rickard. Public Works and Economic Development, Mr. Alonso.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Works and Economic Development Committee will be meeting on August 28th at 6 p.m. with 3 assignments that we're going to be talking about, with the rental registration, Airbnb, and vacant property.
All right, thank you. Move on to zoning and annexation, Mrs. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to announce that we will be on the 28th, having at 7 p.m. the change in zoning from residential to business for a parcel, 2 parcels that cover Little Theater, so that they can do the renovations that they need to do.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ramos. Salary, Mrs. May.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right. All right, Parks and Cemetery, Mr. Pace.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right, Contact and Special, Mr. Rippeth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report tonight, but we will be, as a committee, meeting at 5:45 on the 28th to discuss Resolution 1223, because why don't we just have a bunch of meetings on the 28th?
I think we should have supper that night. We're gonna be- Just saying.
What time is yours, Steve? I forget.
5:45.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rippeth. Visitors' comments, the floor is now open for visitor comments. Anyone wishing to address council should rise, state their name and address, and address all comments to the chair. You'll have 5 minutes. I don't see anyone here this evening to address this, so,
John just won't get up. John won't get up.
I told Carl to add ease.
Carl's in.
council comments, any council members' comments this evening? All right, we'll move into our legislative agenda. Mrs. Corbett, Ms. Corbett.
Ordinance number 14, 2023, an ordinance by the council of the city of New Philadelphia, Tuscarawas County, Ohio, authorizing the auditor to create a new fund called the Fire Department Escrow Fund number 806 for the purpose of depositing funds from insurance companies collected pursuant to New Philadelphia Ordinance 9, 2022, and Ordinance 3929.86. First reading.
Is there any action to be taken by council on this legislation tonight? Mr. Ricklick.
Mr. President, I ask we suspend the rules for ordinance 14, 2023.
Second, Mrs. May, thank you. In discussion by council, administration, roll call.
Mr. Ricklick.
Yes.
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Ribbit.
Yes.
All right, rules have been suspended. Now to entertain a motion, Mr. Ricklick.
Mr. President, I ask we make a motion to pass ordinance 14, 2023 this evening.
Do I have a second? Mrs. May, thank you. In discussion by the community, administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Ricklick.
Yes.
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Ribbit.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 14, 2023 has passed.
And that concludes legislation for this
All right,
evening, Mr.
thank you,
President.
Ms. Cartwright. Do we have any unfinished business for tonight's council meeting? Do we have any new business for tonight's council meeting? Hearing now to entertain a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Mr. Ricklick, at 7:47. Thank you, everyone.